Hello everybody, it's Tuesday and it has been a productive day of shipping and taking photographs and all of that already. It's just about noon and I wanted to talk to you today about a topic that is discussed a lot, and it is a common issue among resellers, and that is death piles. And we're going to talk about what a death pile is, why we create death piles and avoid listing those items, why we shouldn't avoid listing those items, why we should get those things listed, how we can eliminate our death piles, and how to avoid them in the future. So we're going to go over all of that, and I'm going to try not to run down any rabbit trails today, but I can't guarantee anything. You guys know me. You know, who knows what'll pop into this brain. So anyway, what is a death pile? A death pile is a pile, a room, a shed, tubs, excess inventory that you have that you are avoiding listing. These are not the things that you run out and buy and you come home and you list and all of that. It's not those items. It is those items that you buy and you're like, I'll list that later, I'll list that later, and they always get put on the back burner until they start to multiply, and now you have a big death pile of items. And it happens to a great deal of resellers. I don't deal in death piles per se, but I do have my own individual problem, and I'll reveal that as we go along. But as far as having inventory that I don't list, it doesn't normally happen to me. Now you guys can see that I'm usually surrounded by junk, and I do have a couple of things right here, and these I have put off listing, these sheets right here, because I have to go upstairs and lay them on the bed and take the pictures, and I'm not real happy about that. And that will be a you know, a task for me to accomplish today or tomorrow. So why do we avoid listing these particular items? What is it about these items, and they vary from seller to seller, that we don't list them? Well, first of all, and this, you would think this would be a no-brainer, but we buy things we don't like to sell. We buy things that we look up and they will make us money, but they're not things that we enjoy selling. And the perfect example of that for me is clothing. It takes me forever to list anything that is clothing related, because I hate selling clothing. Shoes, not so much. I don't have a problem with that, or hats or any of that stuff, but shirts and pants and vests, and I hate that stuff. So it will become a death pile for me. So don't buy things that you hate to sell. So fear is another thing, and humans are guided by fear, which is a crazy thing because we're only born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Every other fear we learn on our own. But we do avoid listing items because we're afraid. How are we going to ship this item? What if it gets returned? And that's a big fear if you're selling something that's kind of expensive. You know, what if it gets returned and I have to now cut loose of that money? So those are things that will stop you from listing. Another one is indecision. And let me tell you, there are a lot of flat squirrels out there in the middle of the road who couldn't decide which way to go. And I find that if I am dealing with an item that I don't want to list, sometimes it's indecision. Where should I list it? What's the best platform? How much should I sell this for? How do I test this item? So there are some obstacles that you might run into that will cause you to be indecisive and put that item back. And that is a problem. Another thing is I hate listing, and I hear that a lot. That's probably, for many people, one of their least favorite tasks. And it is something that you either learn to enjoy or become fast at, or you outsource. But I find that a lot of folks that have this job are they want to own every task because, it's their baby and they can't let go of that control. And I'm guilty of that. It has been very, very tough for me to turn over photos to Holly and let Holly take photos. But I don't like taking photos anyway. And she has progressed. And she has progressed because I give her feedback to let her know these photos are good, but these could be better if you did this. So there's that micromanaging, that ownership problem that many of us that do this job have. So that's another issue. If you don't like listing, then try to find some shortcuts. Ask some questions about how other people list items. Use cut and paste. There's a lot of things that you can do to kind of improve your listing. So why we shouldn't avoid our death piles. The number one reason is lost revenue and lost income, and those sound like the same thing, don't they? But that's not what I mean. The lost revenue is all of the money that you have tied up in those items because you paid for them, right? So you've got all this money that you laid out for these items that was fun when you bought them. So you've lost that revenue, and you've lost income because they're not listed. You can't sell them. So there's that potential just laying there, and it's lost to you. So that's the number one reason you shouldn't avoid those death piles. Another one is, and it's sometimes overlooked, although I bet you're feeling it, is the stress of those items lingering. I mean, they're just laying there. You see them, or you don't even have to see them. You can just know that they're there and feel some stress about that. Sometimes your spouse complains. Sometimes, your partner complains. Sometimes your kids complain. And, you're walking around the stuff and tripping over it sometimes. And that is just stressful. I know it's very stressful for me. So there's that stress of having those items just sitting there. And then lack of space. Things that are processed and listed and folded and put away neatly take up a lot less space than the piles of junk they usually turn into. So that's another reason why you shouldn't avoid listing those items. So why should we list? So I've talked about why we shouldn't avoid it. So kind of the same thing is why should we list those? And one is a sense of accomplishment. You know how it feels when you're like, man, I just listed 10 things today or 15 things today or however many. That makes you feel good and accomplished, and it gives you, a sense of satisfaction. Again, you increase your revenue stream because now you have more products that are out there listed for people to buy. And the third reason is a sense of peace. When you have things organized and neat and they're not, hurting your eyes, really, when your place starts to look aesthetically pleasing. I don't ever get that here, but it does give you a sense of peace and satisfaction. And that's another reason why you really should work on those death piles. So how can you eliminate it? You've got one. Maybe it's 10 items, maybe it's 100 items, maybe it's 600 items. If you've got a death pile, my recommendations for dealing with death piles are to sort those items out. And if you can't do it all at once, just because it's it's too much, it's overwhelming, do this in stages. But sort out a couple of tubs, for example, and it's time to make some decisions. If it's not worth listing, it's damaged beyond repair, it's not something you can part out because it doesn't make sense to, donate it or throw it away. Just get rid of it. Just eliminate that from the death pile. Then look at those items that can be ready to list. Put those in a pile. do the same for items that maybe need to be prepped. In other words, wiped off, cleaned, washed, you know, laundered, or anything that needs to be repaired. And get those in separate piles and get those things moving in the direction that they need to be moving. I say, because you'll be surprised how much you can get accomplished, commit to list 5 things. Just 5. 5 is not overwhelming. You can do 5, right? You've got time to do 5. Do 4 easy ones and 1 hard one. And you'll be able to build on that momentum, because man, you knocked out those 4 really quick. Now you got to do the hardest of the group. And then, you know, keep working through it. Maybe 5 is not your number. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's 3. But commit to listing X amount every day, every other day, whatever. And if you touch it, list it. Make a decision. If you're going through it, don't keep putting it back. Don't be keep putting that mug back. Don't be keep putting that mug back. Go ahead and make a decision on this right now. Am I going to list this? Am I going to donate it? Am I giving it to somebody? What's happening with it? So don't keep touching your items. The only time you should do that is when you're going through that sort mode and you're deciding what you're going to do with it. But once you have put it in that list pile, list it. Don't touch it again. And then finally, how can we avoid these death piles in the future? And you're not always going to be able to, because life is going to happen, and you know the kids have a project, and you know you're working overtime at your day job, or you just got lazy and you wanted to shop, or and this happens in some areas where you have to source in the summer because that's when you're going to get your best items, and you stockpile a little bit for those winter months when you can't thrift. I haven't run across that where I am. There's we're saturated with thrift stores. There's a lot to buy. I swear I've only been to 1 church sale all summer. 1 all summer, because I get so much stuff at thrift stores. And there's probably, I'm missing a lot. I'll tell you, I am missing a lot. But I'm not getting up at the crack of dawn and going out and, you know, fighting the masses at one of those big church yard sales. How to avoid these in the future? Don't buy items you hate to list. That's pretty reasonable, isn't it? You know, I do sometimes buy items that it's not that I hate to list them. You know, I'm not going to look forward to shipping the item, but once it's listed, I don't have a choice if it sells. So, but be cognizant of that. Don't buy items that you don't want to list, that you won't want to list, or you won't want to ship. Because if you do one, the other is going to happen. And if you're not going to list it, then don't buy it. Limit yourself to a set number of unlisted inventory that you must list before you can source more. Whatever that number is. And it'll vary. Some people take longer to list, so maybe 20 items in their inventory, unlisted inventory, is as much as they can handle at a time. But for other folks, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 100 items that you can have in your unlisted inventory at any given time. The only exception you should make to that rule is when you have bought some things in quantity, because you know, if I've got 10 of these, well, it's only 1 listing. So, I mean, I can break that rule in that situation. But try to set yourself a limit to, I'm only going to, you know, deal with X amount of items at a time that are unlisted. And then at that point, I have to list them. Then hold yourself accountable for your limits. Once you set that number, hold yourself accountable to it, only making a rare exception. You know, in the sense of that quantity issue, or this sale is so incredible that I will not have to source, you know, I'll have enough to list for quite some time. That is the rare exception. That is not the rule. And the other thing, and this is the one that I struggled with, And this is the I don't have death piles of unlisted inventory. I have the maybes. So, for example, items like this. This is a piece of GeoTrack's Fisher Price Thomas the Train track. And I will say, well, you know, I'll buy those 3 or 4 pieces or 5 pieces or whatever. It's not enough to make a lot. And I'll throw those in a bin and I'll keep those until I have enough. The problem is, for me, is my memory is not good enough for me to remember that I've already bought 5 pieces of this track and it's in a bin back there. And so it's just lingering. And I may even buy an entire lot and list it and not remember that I had these extra pieces in the bin. And right now that's what I'm dealing with. I've got Nerf accessories back there. I've got some Fisher Price little people, like some vintage ones. I have some Playmobil people back there, just a few vintage ones. I have some one-off Lego stuff. So that's where I struggle. I've got a couple of board games back there that could be parted out maybe someday that I'm going to work on getting rid of. That's my death pile. But if it's just straight inventory, I don't have a lot of it. I may have, I shopped a little bit yesterday. I may have 10 items, not even 10, probably like 7 items over here that need to be listed. So, yeah. Anyway, I did watch a lot of videos and did some research to kind of come up with these lists. I hope this helps you. For one, I want you to know that you're not alone, that almost everybody struggles with death piles. And I'm not trying to be arrogant and say, well, I don't have death piles, y'all shouldn't have death piles. That's not what I mean. It took me a long time to get to where I will just list it all. I used to have it piled up to the ceiling. And you know, and it took a while. I'm not a very disciplined person at all. So it took a lot of effort for me to say, you know what, you need to list this stuff before you go out and you buy much more. So I really, really understand. But I did watch a couple of videos. So I want to recognize that this information is out there from other people. I did watch a video by Lindy Glenn. And I did watch Steve Rakin's video about it, just a short video, Rakin Profit, if you know him. They're both mostly clothing sellers, and I think this happens a lot more with clothing sellers because clothing is so cheap, it's so accessible, it's small, so you end up, you know, in a small space with 25 or 30 pieces, where I maybe only get 6 or 8 pieces in a tub sometimes of the hard goods that I buy. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too much longer. I will show you a couple of things that I bought yesterday. As we go through our hard goods, good spiel. So I bought this Daisy Seal-A-Meal. This is one of the originals. From back in the day. You remember the day? Remember back in it? Does she know I have the best hair? She reminds me of Madge from the Palmolive commercials. You're soaking in it with this hair. But I just thought the art in that box was amazing. This is the tiny little Seal-A-Meal that's in here. And it doesn't have any bags with it. But I think I can get about 20 bucks. I paid 99 cents for this. I think I can get about 20 bucks just for the nostalgia of this box. I probably will list this on Etsy and eBay just to see. You know, we got Q4 coming up, and things like this end up being gifts for people. I don't know if I would like to get a Black & Decker lids off. Maybe when I'm a little older and can't open a jar, that could happen. But this is actually a new one. This is an older one. It's from 2005. I paid 3 bucks for it. But I think I can get about 25 to 30 out of that. And I bought this the other day without looking it up. This is by Regent Sheffield. This is an oak called a flip block knife block. It's new in box, but you can actually hang it on the wall. It will stand up like this. You can lay it in a drawer. It will stand up on its own. And I paid $1.50 for it. I didn't find any comps sold. So maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I'm going to try and list it for like $15 to $20. And finally, I bought this rocket grill. It was on clearance for $2.50. And these do about 30 bucks for the grill. These have like a little paper-like pouch. It's not paper, but it's a pouch that it's disposable, that you put your sandwich or whatever in, and you slide it down in the top of this, kind of like a big toaster slot, kind of. And it does not have any of those with it, but I'm thinking this might get parted out, because I think this lid sells for about $15. This knob sells for $15, and the knob comes off easy, so I can see why it could get lost easy. Over in the drawer somewhere, there's a tray that goes underneath that probably sells for $10 or $15. I'm not sure how much I can part out, and if those are the only 3 pieces, I probably won't part it out, because I don't want this going to a landfill. But otherwise, I'll sell it whole and make $30 on my $2.50 investment. That's all I've got for you guys today. I hope this video is helpful to you, and I hope you enjoy it. And that's pretty much it. I'm having a hard time ending this, and I don't know why. Just remember that the dream works when you do. So keep dreaming and keep working, and don't be a flat squirrel. And I'll see you the next time. So I got it. I got it. You have a particular set of skills. You will find me and you will kill me. I told you to stop calling me here, Liam. Oh, hi. You know, in case you can't get enough me, which trust me, some of the people around here can get enough me. You know, I do have a Facebook group that I would really like for you to join. It's in the link, it's in the description below. Also, you can find my Instagram there, also in the description below. And you see that subscribe button? It's not up there. It's up there. Feel free to click on that subscribe button and hit the little bell. It'll tell you when I upload a video. All right, I've been obnoxious enough for one day. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here.